It's getting dark, but I have to make it. Who knew, right before Thanksgiving, the snow would be pouring this heavily? The weather has been horrible since late in the afternoon, and the piercing winds were howling in the frigid, cold air. Caleb could barely feel his fingers, or take in a relieving breath in this spiraling blizzard. In the middle of nowhere, he didn't know what to do anymore. He was in doubt how much longer he could go on, and how did he reach this situation? The journey began early this morning when Caleb boarded his flight from California to Anchorage, Alaska. When he landed in Anchorage, the weather was rather mild. He planned to catch another flight to the small town of Soldotna, but due to the upcoming blizzard warnings, all flights had been cancelled. For Caleb, however, there was no way he could postpone this journey. It was right before Thanksgiving, so he thought he would get a good deal renting a car. He went to a car rental shop, however. They too would not rent out a vehicle during the blizzard. In fact, many stores, shops, and businesses were closing till the blizzard subsided. When Caleb couldn't arrange any transport, he was left with only one option: to go by foot. He started walking on his way to Soldotna, planning to hitchhike on the way there. There was bound to be some trucks or cars driving down the highway, and if not anything, he would make it by dawn. It was cloudy, and the winds were starting to pick up when Caleb set off, but it wasn't yet snowing, and Caleb hoped he would catch a ride before then. But now, it had been nearly 4 hours he had been walking. He was too far, and the blizzard had hit hard. He was too far to go back to the city, and he wasn't anywhere near Soldotna or any other stoppage where he could catch a warm breath of air. Staring at his frost-covered watch, Caleb looked at the time. It was 5:48 p.m. The skies were getting dark. Soon it would be pitch black out here. It wasn't just the weather Caleb would have to worry about, but the dense pine forest that surrounded him. At least, he had a flashlight and a pocket knife, in case of any wolves. Stopping for a break, Caleb turned against the winds and brought his hands to his mouth, but even his breath barely felt hot anymore. Despite the pain and hardship, Caleb wondered, what if he didn't make it in time? He would lose out on a last opportunity. So he turned around once more and continued to walk. I have to do this. All of a sudden, looking out into the sparkling snow-covered white terrains, Caleb spotted a light down the road. He widened his eyes in joy as he saw a bus driving his way. He waved his hands frantically, trying to catch its attention. "Stop! Stop!" he barely managed to yell out. He dropped his bag and ran a bit out onto the road. As the bus neared, he stumbled back into the snow as it passed him. Shoot. Despair, Caleb struggled to get up and sighed. But just then, the bus screeched to a stop in the distance. Yes. Caleb immediately grabbed his bag and ran to board the bus. The door opened, and he looked at a female bus driver smile at him as he stepped inside. "Thank you so much. I thought I had gotten stranded out here." Caleb took out his wallet to pay his fare. When the woman motioned him, "It's all right, it's no problem." "Where is this bus headed to?" "Seeing your condition, we'll go wherever you need to go." "Great. If you can just reach me to the Soldotna bus terminal, I can go the rest of the way." "Sure, it actually falls on the way to our final destination. Why don't you take a seat?" "Thanks again." Letting out a deep breath, Caleb turned around to see the bus mostly empty. There were just about 8 or 9 people on board. He shook off the snow and walked down the aisle. Placing his bag next to him, he sat down, finally feeling his frozen hands again. But as he passed a glance around, he suddenly felt a bit uncomfortable, noticing everyone was staring at him. They all looked angered, as if he had done something. They were all probably heading back home to their families for Thanksgiving. Was it because the bus had stopped because of him? If not for this bus, Caleb would have lost his life. Besides, it wasn't as if he had halted it for too long, and the bus was practically empty. As Caleb moved his gaze, trying to ignore them, he heard some people murmuring. "He looks just like him." Were they talking about him? Is he going to stay with us? We will keep him with us. What did that mean? Caleb couldn't understand what was going on. He tried focusing on the road outside. The blizzard only seemed to be getting worse, and the winds were so strong. Every now and then he could feel the windows shake to the heavy gusts that blew against the bus. He quietly sat, looking at the people. He noticed the old woman take out a rosary and begin murmuring, "The time is coming near. We're almost there. We're almost there." There was a look of stress on everyone's face as they anxiously gripped onto their seats, watching outside. Within a while, he looked up front and saw the bus driver call him. He got up and walked forward to speak to her when she whispered to him, "We've reached their destination." "So soon?" Confused, Caleb checked his watch. It was 10 p.m. Caleb couldn't believe his eyes. 4 hours had passed already. It had felt like he had just gotten on a while ago. The woman took out an old locket and quickly handed it to him. "Take this. Give it to your grandfather." "My grandfather? How do you know my grandfather?" The woman suddenly halted the bus as Caleb stared at the strange, rusted locket. "Just take it and go, quickly." But that's when everyone behind him in the bus stood up. "No, he can't go." Caleb looked at them as they furiously stared at him. Why were they behaving like this? "We will not let him go." As the people began to approach him, the bus driver immediately drew open the door and said, "Run." In a panic, Caleb hurried off, and almost immediately the door shut behind him, and the bus drove off. What just happened? What just happened? But what was more bizarre was how he reached so far so fast. It was some journey reaching Soldotna. Finally, after another half an hour's walk, Caleb reached home around 11 p.m. His Uncle John opened the door, surprised to see him. But Caleb could see the stress on his face. "How is he?" "He's waiting for you." Caleb hurried inside and went to his grandfather Edward's room. He lay in bed, suddenly smiling upon seeing him. "How are you feeling, Grandpa? You came in this weather?" "Grandpa, something strange happened as I was coming. I have something for you." Caleb took the locket out from his pocket, but the minute his grandfather saw it, a look of shock covered his face. "Where did you find this?" "I boarded a bus on my way. There was a female bus driver. She dropped me off and gave me this, telling me to give it to you." "Female bus driver? How did she look?" "She was young, beautiful. She had..." Before Caleb could finish, his grandfather looked at the locket and said, "Red hair." "Yes, how did you know?" "It was 60 years ago." "60 years ago, when Edward Collins was a young man, he was working in Anchorage, while his son and his pregnant wife lived in their hometown in Soldotna. When Edward received news that his wife had gone into labor, he immediately set out, taking a night coach. He hoped he would reach Soldotna in time. "Good evening." "Good evening." The night coach was being driven by a beautiful young woman. She was kind, polite, and boarded all the passengers with a smile. The journey was going rather fine, until at some point on their route, the bus was halted by a group of goons. Boarding the bus and seeing the beautiful bus driver, they began to harass her. "Oh, look here, what a prize. What are you doing driving this bus, sugar? This is a man's job. Why don't you let me do it?" "Yeah, you should spend the night with us, beautiful. We'll pay you more than this job." The goons had taken over the bus and began to misbehave and humiliate the young woman. Meanwhile, the passengers silently sat in their seats, too intimidated to speak up or retaliate in any way. But Edward couldn't stay silent. He got up and faced the men. "Leave her alone." "Yeah? And what are you gonna do about it? You're gonna fight all of us?" Edward looked at everyone on the bus. "A woman is being treated like this in front of all of you, and you all are gonna remain quiet? We're so many of us here. If we take stand, they won't be able to do anything to us." But everyone on board looked away in fear. On the other hand, the men surrounded Edward, taking out their knives. "It seems we'll have to teach you a lesson." As Edward stood firm, not regretting his decision, the young woman said to him, "Stop, just stop." She then looked at the men. "What do you want?" "Nothing, babe. We just wanted to have some good time with you." Edward stood there in shock as he watched the men continue to misbehave with the woman, and everyone mind their own business. However, down the route, reaching near a warehouse, the men finally got off. "Sorry, sugar. Nothing is more important than business. If not for that, you could have come with us." When they got off and the bus pulled off again, everyone was relieved. However, on the next stop, the young woman stopped the bus and called Edward out. "Get off of my bus." "Excuse me? What were you trying to do? Be a hero, pretending to save me? Or were you trying to put everyone else in danger?" "What? Everyone else took stand with me. If everyone else took stand with me, they wouldn't be able to do anything. They wouldn't have been able to treat you like this. Who knows what they could have done to you?" But upset, the woman didn't listen to him and sent him off the bus. "Leave right now." Edward got off without much choice, practically stranded in the middle of nowhere. And to make things worse, he had forgotten his bag on board. After walking for 4 hours in the cold winter, he reached the town from where he arranged transport and finally arrived to Soldotna. When he arrived, he found his wife had given birth to a second son, but she didn't make it. Edward was heartbroken and devastated. She had left him with 2 sons to raise, the last of her memories. Edward remembered the last time he had seen her, spoken to her. He was shattered. While he was at Anchorage, he had a locket made with a picture of them they had specially taken on their wedding day. He planned to gift it to her when he arrived. But it was too late. Edward opened the locket and showed his grandson. "This locket was in that bag I forgot on that bus." "But Grandpa, it was 60 years ago. The woman on that bus, she was a young woman. And how could she know that I am your grandson?" "A few days after your grandmother's death, in her memory, I contacted the bus terminal and searched for that bus. But I found out that night the bus had gotten into an accident. It had driven off the mountainside. There were no survivors. That's when I realized what the woman had done. She couldn't take the humiliation and disgrace the men caused her, and she wanted to punish everyone on that bus except for me. I never thought I would see this again. Upon hearing his grandfather's story, Caleb was shocked. How could this be? Who was she? Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting. The game is on. Megan Jameson has been working at the CG Steakhouse for almost 8 years now. When she first joined, she was working as a waitress. But with a lot of hard work and dedication towards the job, working every position over the years, Megan was finally promoted to assistant manager and had been so for the past 2 years. The CG Steakhouse was one of the most popular restaurants in Seattle, as it was owned by the famous actor Chris Griffin. In the yesteryears, when Chris Griffin was a young man, he used to be the heartthrob of Hollywood, one of the most popular actors. And now, in his mid-50s, he was a successful businessman, however, still an icon in the film industry. Even now, Chris Griffin was seen in many special appearances in the most popular movies like BII Avengers. And many at times, people came to dine at the restaurant just for a chance to shake hands with the hero. Come on everyone, let's put some elbow grease to it. We need the orders out right now. Got it. Due to the lockdown during the pandemic, the restaurant had been temporarily shut down. But finally, after a couple of months, it had reopened and new employees were hired, and Megan was quite busy dealing with the newbies. As she gave out the last orders, she saw Elon, the general manager, coming her way. How's everything going? All right, sir. Things are running a bit slow. Everyone's absolutely new, so it's gonna take some time to catch on to the tasks. Make sure everything runs smooth. We need to get this business up and running. Have the shipments for Cuomo's events been prepared? Yes, sir. All right, then you should get going. Peter Cuomo was a highly influential politician in Seattle, in fact, in the country. And Chris Griffin was good friends with him. Whenever Mr. Cuomo hosted an event, from press conferences to important seminars and interviews, the Griffin Steakhouse would cater refreshments at the events, and Megan was in charge of supervising the service. When she reached Mr. Cuomo's conference room, she found the entire place packed with reporters, journalists, and many dignitaries, all waiting for him. Hurry, we need all the refreshments arranged before the break time. As Megan monitored the employees, she turned to see Mr. Cuomo arrive. Seeing her, he smiled and greeted her. Megan, you're already here? Yes, sir. You haven't been at the restaurant since the reopening. I've really been looking forward to it, but my schedule has been so busy in this pandemic. I understand. But I'll definitely try to make it. Hope to see you there. Have a nice day. Having to attend almost each and every one of Mr. Cuomo's events, Megan had developed a cordial relationship with Mr. Cuomo. As Megan spoke to him, she noticed reporters spiraling around clicking pictures of them. After the caterers arranged everything, Megan returned to the restaurant and had been on the run till closing time that night. By the time she returned home, she was exhausted and simply plopped down on the bed, fixing her alarm. Tomorrow's gonna be another tough day. The next morning, Megan was up getting ready as she tuned in on the news when the headlines caught her attention. Leaked footage of famous actor Chris Griffin reveals shocking information on Peter Cuomo. Megan stopped everything to watch the footage being played on every news channel across the nation. Peter, he's such a pig, but he's cunning. He acts as if he's a saint, so humble and modest, pretends to be loyal to his wife, and then he goes on vacation with young girls and has affairs with actresses. The leaked footage spread like wildfire across the nation, and it became a matter of embarrassment for Peter Cuomo. His home was barricaded by the media. Numerous reporters and politicians from the opposition and the general public were coming forth with heavy criticism. Mr. Cuomo, we're trying to handle the situation, but the footage has been leaked everywhere. Until things settle down, we advise you remain at home. I'll handle it. Mr. Cuomo, are the allegations of harassment true? Mr. Cuomo, what do you have to say about Mr. Griffin's statement? You recently visited a resort. There have been pictures of you with the actress Jessica Stone. Are you in a relationship with her? Peter Cuomo had no choice but to be silent in it all. He had thought, like always, he would be able to deal with the media one way or the other. But when journalists began digging and managed to find pictures and footage of Peter Cuomo seemingly intimate with many actresses, things became worse. And he saw no way but to stay at home till the controversy had cooled down. How did this happen? Chris Griffin was shocked when he saw his own footage. He couldn't understand who could have done something like this, but he had his doubts. Thinking about what was to come next, he suddenly received a call from Peter. Peter? You low-life snitch. I will destroy you. I'll ruin your life. Peter, look, it was a casual remark. I wasn't aware I was being recorded. Just look at the footage. Don't you see someone's trying to target us? You are going to pay. What now? A few days into the controversy, Chris Griffin was arrested with major charges. Actor Chris Griffin was arrested this morning on charges of arson and putting the lives of innocent civilians in danger. Investigations have revealed the recent fire that burned down the CG Steakhouse had been deliberately set by Chris Griffin himself in attempts to fraud insurance companies. Authorities predict the famous actor will be looking at much time behind bars. In the court trials that followed, Chris Griffin was unable to win the case despite hiring the best lawyers, and was sentenced to 15 years' time. What is happening? The restaurant just opened and there's been one obstacle after the other. What's going to happen now? Are we going to have to shut down the restaurant again? I don't know, but this is going to be difficult. This is so unfortunate. A lot had happened in the past week. Everyone was overwhelmed with the troubled lives of these politicians and celebrities. While a blind eye was turned towards so much more that had been happening in the nation. Amidst the crisis of the pandemic, there were so many people, ordinary people, unnoticed, overlooked, suffering through so much more, and it would never come on the news. No one would say a thing about it. Before all this happened, before the fire, and before the lockdown, three other employees had been working at the CG Steakhouse alongside Megan and Elon. Over the years, Megan was promoted to assistant manager, but she was quite close to everyone there: Kevin, Lisa, and Julia. Kevin was a graduate, but unable to find a job, ended up working at the restaurant. He was a fun-loving guy, never gave up, always looked at the positive side of things. Lisa, she was only 18, living on her own, trying to afford school and manage her life. She was one of the sweetest girls. And Julia. Megan was very close to her. Julia was a caring, loving single mother raising a 5-year-old. Over the years, all the employees made an emergency family fund in which they contributed savings from their tips that could be used by the employees in case they fell upon hard times. None of the employees made much, but even then, they saved up each and every dollar, just in case, and with time, it amounted to a good sum. Come time when the pandemic hit the country and the CG Steakhouse was temporarily closed, Everyone thought perhaps it would reopen in a couple weeks or so. However, 2 weeks in, they were all released from their jobs as the restaurant was being closed indefinitely. And there was no assurance when they would open or if they would open at all. And releasing the employees would allow them to seek jobs at other places and not wait for the restaurant to reopen. However, in the midst of the pandemic, there was no way for any of them to find any other job, and they were struggling to afford themselves. Hello, Vincent? Julia, what's up? Just trying to get by. How's your health? I'm getting a little better. Did you get the email from the restaurant? Yeah, I saw it. I don't know what to do. It's been so hard affording everything with me and my son. Don't worry, why don't you appeal to the emergency fund? I was going to go once I get a little better. Yeah, I was thinking of that. I'll talk to Megan. Take care of yourself, okay? Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. A couple of months into closing, Julia came to the restaurant and spoke to Megan. Julia, how is everything? Not that good, Megan. Did you hear about Lisa? She's working at a nightclub now. What? I didn't know. She's such a nice girl. She was always so shy. What option do we have? Times have been so rough. I was thinking if we could access the emergency fund. Yes, of course. Let me see what I can do. Megan then went to speak to Chris Griffin. Sir, as you know, the employees are going through a difficult time. Julia is here and she's requesting to use the emergency fund. That won't be possible. She's no longer an employee here. But it was them who saved the money out of their own pockets. It was supposed to be for their aid. No, the fund was made for the aid of restaurant employees, but none of them are employed here anymore, are they? Megan understood what was going on, and despite wanting to help Julia, there was nothing she could do. I'm sorry, Julia. Only employees are allowed to access the fund and you're no longer an employee. What? How can you say that? Every penny in that fund belongs to us. I'm sorry, Julia. You're not sorry, Megan. I thought you would understand, but you turned out a fraud just like them. A month later, Megan found out Vincent had passed away in sickness. And as much heartbreaking as it was, the horrible news kept coming. Lisa was found having taken her life, and Julia was left homeless with her son. And in all this, one night Megan was informed of a sudden fire at the restaurant. Megan went to the spot right then and there. She was overwhelmed by everything that was happening. But that night, as the fire was being put out, she spotted Chris Griffin and Elon together, laughing, and realized how selfish and heartless they were. The game is on. With the money from the insurance, Chris Griffin reopened the restaurant. Managers hired new employees. Megan returned to her job, but she was disgusted by Chris Griffin. How could someone so wealthy and so loved by the people be so wicked? Megan knew Chris Griffin was very arrogant. He often gossiped and badmouthed people, even friends and acquaintances, including Mr. Peter Cuomo. He's no politician. He's a phony, a con man, but he's useful. You gotta keep connections with these people to survive out here. And that was what Megan used to her advantage. She was the one who recorded the footage of Chris Griffin. And when she went to deliver the refreshments to one of Cuomo's conferences, she had made sure it got into the hands of one of the reporters. Peter Cuomo was a player. What's this? Bingo. And from there, everything went according to plan when the footage was leaked by an anonymous source. Peter Cuomo was exposed, and he took his revenge on Chris Griffin. And in the process, Megan got her revenge. You all deserved much better. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting. Alright men, you all performed very well today. Keep up the good work. 5 more days till we're on the road again. Come on now, Loretta, it's time to wrap up. Let's get back to our tent. After a wonderful show, Gerald Speltzer and his circus team packed up for the night. People from around the city came to see Gerald's magic show at the Texas State Fair Carnival. Business was great. Father, today's show was just spectacular. Everyone was clapping when I went on stage with you. I'm going to be a star. Sure, sweetheart. You're growing up to be just like your mother. Mr. Speltzer! Mr. Speltzer! Gerald sent his daughter inside as he turned to see a young boy come out from behind the stalls. Mr. Speltzer, I'm a really big fan of yours. I've collected all your posters. I know every trick you've ever shown. Suddenly, Gerald noticed a few guards walking around. Where did that kid go? Gerald chuckled. Thank you, lad. I hope you enjoyed the show. Well, the guards here are like hawks, but I managed to sneak a peek. Gerald raised his brow, asking, where are your parents? I don't have any parents. I've come here to join your team. Please, Mr. Speltzer, I want to be a magician just like you. You don't have any other family? How did you get here? The boy shook his head no. I've been saving every penny to buy a ticket to this carnival ever since I saw your poster, and I've spent every bit of it for a chance to meet you. Please, Mr. Speltzer, don't send me away. I promise you, you won't be disappointed with me. The boy stepped back and began to perform a magic trick. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you're all about to be amazed by one of the greatest illusions of all times. I call it the vanishing. Gerald chuckled as the boy mimicked his every move. With a swift play of hands, the boy yelled, Alakazam! And at once, a sudden thick cloud of smoke filled the air, and when it had cleared out, the boy was gone. Gerald clapped as he scanned the area looking for the boy, when suddenly he heard a cough behind him. Ta-da! Well done, young man. You've impressed me. So will you teach me then, Mr. Speltzer? Gerald held the boy by the shoulder. What's your name? Harvey Hansen. Okay, Harvey Hansen, you can be my apprentice. Thank you all for coming to my show tonight. Mr. Harvey, you're such a great magician. Where did you learn all these amazing illusions? He must have had a very good teacher. Harvey cleared his throat and said, I've figured my own ways over the years. But people around here know you as the student of the great magician Gerald Speltzer. I was with him for a while, but I ask all of you here today, has Gerald Speltzer ever shown you the kind of tricks I've shown you? Harvey paced on the stage. No, how much can an old man teach you? I've reached the success through my own hard work. A certain sense of achievement sent peace to Gerald's heart when he got news of Harvey's success. He had retired after his business had suffered a great loss. He is now an old man, living on his own, his daughter happily married to a nice young man, and Harvey doing well for himself. Gerald searched his cabinet and took out his little savings he had left. He wasn't in a place in his life anymore where he could spend freely, but after receiving news about Harvey, he couldn't help himself but to visit the boy. So Gerald traveled to the city to meet him. "Excuse me, mister, where do you think you're going?" "You haven't recognized me? I'm Gerald Speltzer. I used to be a magician." "Sorry, we can't let random people inside." "Please, just 1 minute. I just want to speak to Harvey." "Look, old man, Mr. Harvey isn't seeing anyone right now. Please, I request you, if you just tell him my name, he'll tell you to let me in." After much plea, the security guards inquired Harvey Hansen and returned to the gate to allow Gerald inside. "Come on, old man, we don't have all day." When Gerald entered the room, he was happy to see Harvey again after so many years. However, Harvey was not too thrilled. With a scowl on his face, he turned in his chair. "Oh, so it's you." "Harvey, I saw the newspaper. You were on the headlines." "What to you? Why are you here?" "How could I not come? Today you're a great magician. I'm so proud of you." "Stop right there. Look, if you want some money, I can help you out. But don't say all these things, that you're proud of me. What are you proud of me for?" "Harvey, how can you behave like this? I treated you like a son. You were with me for so many years. I taught you to be who you are today." "You taught me? I've reached here on my own." Harvey took a small blade from his table. He stretched out his hand and made a long cut across his palm. "What are you doing, Harvey? Stop this." Gerald was bewildered to see the cut heal in seconds right in front of his eyes. Harvey raised his brow, smirking. "What did you say, old man? You taught me, right? So why don't you tell me now how I did it?" "What are you trying to prove, Harvey? Did I not raise you like my own?" "Your words mean nothing to me. You're nothing anymore, Gerald Speltzer. Those days are over when people used to find your petty tricks entertaining. This is why today you're in this condition. Nobody wants to see you. I don't even want to see you. Get away from here." "Harvey, I came here to speak with you. Let us sort our matters." "Guards!" "Harvey, how can you be so ungrateful?" Harvey turned around as the security guards rushed inside. "It's all right. I'll leave on my own." Harvey watched Gerald go out the door. He leaned back in his seat and let out a sigh. Gerald Speltzer had taken Harvey Hansen as his apprentice when he was just 12 years old. The boy's passion for magic distinguished him from the others on the circus team. Over the years, Gerald taught his daughter and Harvey side by side as they were of similar age. And it was over these years that a certain bond developed between the two. Before long, both were in their teenage years. That's when Harvey began to grow feelings for this lovely young woman, Loretta. "Mr. Speltzer, there's nothing I've hidden from you all these years, and I think it's time I discuss something with you." "What is it, Harvey?" "I'm in love with your daughter, and I want to marry her." "All right, young man, you can marry her, but as a father, you must understand my concerns. I don't doubt your love for her, but perhaps you should take things easy. Focus on your career. Once you're established, you can marry Loretta." Harvey struggled day and night to bring himself to a better position in his life. Loretta was a beautiful young woman. She was learned, talented, and it wasn't before long that Gerald began receiving numerous proposals asking for his daughter's hand in marriage. "Loretta, it will be years before Harvey will reach anywhere. I've found for you a better suitor. The young man belongs to a respected family, he's wealthy and educated. I deem it best you accept his proposal." "Yes, father, as you wish." It was on the day of the marriage that Harvey left Gerald and went off on his own. He promised himself he would reach that level of success one day. That day, Gerald would regret what he did. He would wish his daughter were now married to him. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I will show you the best of all magic tricks you will be mesmerized to see. I will need someone from the audience to assist me. Is there anyone? Harvey scanned the crowd as a man walked down the aisle raising his hand. "I would like to assist you." "Very well then, come on up."
The man walked onto the stage looking at Harvey. "Mister, what is your name?" "Call me your Famulus." "All right, trusty Famulus. What do you say we show all these lovely people here today how to fly?" "As you wish, great magician." Harvey walked towards the crowd, raising his hands. "I grew up as a lonely child. Everyone around me used to point to the stars and tell me, 'Your parents are watching over you.' At the time, I didn't understand them. All I wanted to do was fly up to the heavens myself. They say a child's imagination is greater than the world. Perhaps it's really true." Harvey chuckled as he began to raise himself into the air. "Famulus, take this hoop and hold it steady. I will show you all that this is nothing but sheer magic." The crowd started gasping and murmuring, "How is he doing it? Nothing is holding him up. He passed right through the hoop." Everyone was on the edge of their seats, watching Harvey fly through the hoop in the man's hand. "Famulus, do you see any deception in this?" "Absolutely not. You're a great magician indeed." Harvey laughed as he suddenly raised higher and higher, soaring through the air, as the crowd cheered on, applauding him and shouting his name. "Thank you." But suddenly, something didn't feel right. Harvey felt like he was losing balance. He tried to keep calm and pull off the act, but it seemed like it was too late. Plummeting down, Harvey yelled as he fell to his end, screaming out in pain on the ground. The crowd started to panic as Harvey stretched his hand to the man standing in front of him. That's when he was thundered to realize this man was none other than his teacher, Gerald Speltzer. What? Harvey had seen that man with his own eyes. Harvey had spoken to him. What kind of magic is this? This is bewitchment. How could Harvey not have recognized him? "Gerald? How couldn't I recognize you? Your voice, your face. How did you do this?" "Harvey, I have taught you many things, but I haven't taught you everything." "How? How did you do this to me?" Harvey cried as his death neared him. Crew members and security guards all rushed to the stage, but before anyone could get hold of the man, he vanished in thin air. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.
Michelle was living her dream life. She had the perfect job and the perfect boyfriend. She was the happiest she had ever been. But then, suddenly, the pandemic hit. And on top of that, the lockdown. Michelle tried to stay positive. She thought this would be a small vacation at home for a couple weeks. It would be fun. Finally, she would get to spend some quality time with Ron, relax and enjoy. Little did she expect her life to go topsy-turvy. Ever since she and Ron had actually been living together, stuck in front of each other, literally 24/7, Michelle realized the man of her dreams was a big baby. In fact, she realized all men were big babies. Now suddenly, Ron had absolutely no interest in her, and all he did was play video games and chat with his online friends. There wasn't anything that could catch his attention. Not if she dressed up. "Ron, how do I look?" Yeah. Not if she dressed down.
Ron, you wanna watch a movie? Babe, not now. I almost got this. Not if she needed help. Ron, I can't carry... Heck, Ron wouldn't even budge, even if she was on her last lifeline. Ron, I can't breathe. Just 1 minute, babe. 1 minute.
Yes!
And when Ron wasn't playing his games, he was sleeping. On the couch. On the table. In the closet. In the bathroom. Michelle had asked him just once to do the laundry. Babe, I think something's wrong with the machine. Everything's pink. Ron, what did you do to my clothes? Ron messed up everything. And now, Michelle has to do the laundry. Another time, Michelle asked him to cook dinner. And Ron stirred up a mess. And now, she has to do it. So Michelle thought, alright, why not the dishes? But Ron took the whole day to clean up. And he didn't do it right. And Michelle had to do them all over again. And now, it's just easier to do them herself in the first place. It was like Michelle had officially become Ron's nanny. Her job was to pamper, cook, and clean up after him. Babe, I'm hungry. Yeah, I'm bringing it. Here's your sandwich. Babe. Yes? It's too spicy. Babe. Yes? I actually wanted something sweet. Can you make me some PBJs? Babe. Yes? My mom always used to cut off the crust. Okay. Babe. What? I love you. And after months of this, Michelle just had it. She couldn't do this anymore. Find yourself a new nanny. So Michelle packed up all her things, got in her car, and drove off. And now, Michelle is officially homeless. Luckily, she had her gym membership, where she used the bathroom and showered. As for food, Michelle stuffed down burgers from BII chickens that got fried. And at night, she slept in her car. It was a completely messed up life, but at least she wasn't a nanny anymore. A couple of weeks in, Michelle finally got an email from her job that they were opening up again. It was great news. But her dream job wasn't anything like her dreams anymore. Michelle was a manager at the BII fashion company. But now, her job was basically to follow her boss around. Of course, at a 6 feet distance, and clean up after her. Michelle, spray me. Yes, ma'am. Michelle, wipe this. Yes, ma'am. Michelle, change Togo's mask. Yes, ma'am. Michelle was exasperated. But at least now she could rent a place and get her life back on track.
How am I going to find an apartment in this pandemic? So Michelle looked up a few rentals on Craigslist and decided to go check it out. The first was a room for rent at an old lady's house. Michelle was a little thrown back to see the woman stepped out in a bodysuit and a gas mask. Hi, I'm Michelle. I called about the room for rent. Yes, I'll show you the room, but before you come in, I just have a few questions. Sure. Are you vaccinated? Yes. Did you travel anywhere in the last month? No. Have you been living with anyone else? No. So you probably wouldn't mind taking a test. What? After what seemed like a long interrogation, Michelle finally got to see the room. It seemed alright, but Michelle knew living here was going to be impossible. I can give you the room, but there are just some small rules you'll have to maintain during the pandemic. Pass. The next rental was a room in an apartment belonging to a single guy. He looked decent, sounded alright over the phone, and the price was reasonable too. But when he opened the door, Michelle was hit with floral scents and musk as she stared at this guy wearing a red robe smiling at her. It's alright, take off your mask, I don't mind. Oh, okay. When Michelle walked in, she was surprised to see this apartment wasn't just any ordinary apartment. It was a love hub. There was hearts, candles, rose petals, neon lights all around. Kinky. This isn't just my home. It's a place of love and peace. Yeah, nice. This is my room, and that will be your room. It's not cleaned out yet, but I'll get it done before you move in. Michelle stepped inside and froze. A pole, whips, handcuffs on the walls. And what was this? He uses that? So, when are you going to move in? I'll have to think about it. This guy was lenient on the restrictions, but no way was she living alone here with him. Why would the pandemic bother you? Who knows what other diseases you might have? Finding a single room in this pandemic was turning out to be very difficult. Michelle didn't know what to do. After a long day, she grabbed some burgers and headed to her car. When she suddenly heard someone call her name. Michelle? Susie? Michelle and Susie went to high school together. Back then, everyone knew Susie, because Susie was the biggest Rustin Heber fan. She was crazy about him. She had pics hung up in her locker. She wore Heber shirts and sweaters all the time. And her BII book page was dedicated to how much she loved him. Susie was obsessed with Rustin Heber, that she would go to any extent for him, even fighting with people. She's so weird. Rustin Heber doesn't even have a good voice. He's so auto-tuned. Why does she even like him? What? What did you say about my Rustin? Nothing. In short, there was no bigger fan of Rustin Heber than Susie. Susie, how are you? How is everything? I'm doing alright. I'm an air hostess. How about you? You live around here? Well, kinda. I work at the BII fashion company. I was actually looking for an apartment. Really? What a coincidence. I was searching for a roommate. Because of my job, I rarely stay at home. Maybe you can check it out. It would be perfect. We know each other for so long, I can trust you. Yeah, totally. That sounds great. So Michelle went to her apartment, and after checking out her room, she liked it. It was neat and cozy. I live alone, but sometimes my boyfriend comes over. I hope that's not a problem. No, it's fine. But before you move in, I do have one rule. What? Please don't go into my bedroom. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'm all for privacy. Michelle moved in the very next day, set up her room, and got cozy in her apartment. Life was finally starting to settle down again. Michelle worked from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Susie would be out on her flights, often away for weeks at a time. Michelle had all the privacy she wanted, even when Susie was home. Michelle found it a little strange, but she noticed when Susie went into her room for the night, she didn't come out at all until the next morning. And when she did, she was completely dressed and ready and left for work again. Michelle never saw Susie laid back or chilling in her PJs. She was always in tip-top shape. But it was one of these days, after Michelle had gone to bed, she started hearing some noises from Susie's room. Michelle went out to check on her. Susie, are you all right? Shall I come in? It sounded like Susie was vomiting. But she quickly blabbered out. No, I'm fine. Don't worry, Justin is here to take care of me. Justin? Her boyfriend? The next morning when Michelle woke up, she found Susie making breakfast. The girl had literally cooked for 5 people. Wow, she eats like a man. Michelle, come on, join me. I think I'm gonna stick to my coffee. Recently I've been feeling so hungry and dizzy, I just had to eat. So, where's your boyfriend? Oh, he left. Watching Susie eat, Michelle was getting all kinds of thoughts. When did he leave? And is she pregnant? But Michelle decided to just mind her own business and didn't say anything. But then, one night, something even stranger happened. Michelle had gone out to get some water from the kitchen, but she froze sensing someone behind her. She turned around to see a guy. A guy she recognized. You? Rustin Heber? No. I'm Justin. I'm Susie's boyfriend. Oh, hi. Nice to meet you. I've heard about you. Yeah, I heard about you too. I was just out to get a midnight snack. Oh, I'm in the way. Sorry about that. That was the first time Michelle had seen Susie's boyfriend. Wow, she was obsessed with Rustin Heber. And now she even found herself someone that looks like him. But when did he come over? A month went by like this, and Michelle was doing much better. Some theaters had started to open up, and Michelle thought she'd get some tickets for them to watch a movie and hang out. It had been long since they had actually gone out like this. Hey Susie, I got tickets to BII Spidey No Way Home. Cool, but 3 tickets? Yeah, I thought Justin would join us. You met him? Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I came out to grab some water and bumped into him. Oh, I think he won't be able to make it. So those plans got cancelled, but Michelle and Susie ended up just watching movies and eating at home. Days were going by as usual, until one night, Michelle was a little late, coming home from work. When she stepped into the apartment, the lights were out, it was quiet. "Susie, are you home?" Did she go for another flight? Michelle went to her room and knocked on the door. "Susie, are you in there?" No response. Michelle turned the knob, when suddenly the door opened up. It wasn't properly locked. Michelle knew she wasn't supposed to go in, but she couldn't help the curiosity. Turning on the lights, she was awed by all the posters of Rustin Heber on the wall. So this is why she doesn't want anyone to come in. Even after all these years, she's still his fan. No one even knows where Rustin is anymore. Michelle looked around chuckling, checking out the bobblehead Rustin Heber's, even a signed guitar. But then she stopped at Susie's dressing table, where she saw something a bit strange. Susie wears wigs? And what, get up to become a woman? On the mirror, there were two pictures. Rustin Heber and Susie. Rustin Heber and Susie? Rustin Heber and Susie? Michelle got a weird feeling. Was Susie Rustin Heber? All of a sudden, Michelle froze up, hearing footsteps behind her. She turned to see Susie. "I told you not to come in my room." "Susie, you are Rustin Heber?" About 10 years ago, when Rustin Heber was about 14 years old, he gained a lot of popularity and became the #1 pop star across the nation. Young girls were in love with him. But Rustin wasn't too happy in his life. "I'm fed up with this fame, this popularity, all this attention. Happens. Why don't I book you a vacation somewhere secluded?" "No, I just want a simple life. A simple life as a teenage girl." What? So Rustin started living a dual life, dressing up and going to high school, living an ordinary life as Susie, and doing concerts and traveling around, living the celebrity life as Rustin. But soon, Rustin's celebrity life came under duress when he started having meltdowns. He couldn't take it anymore and started freaking out, doing all sorts of crazy things. Puking on stage and spitting here and there. Why? Why would you do that? How could you spit on your fans? Why? Why not? You know something? I don't need all of this. Rustin reached his breaking point and decided to quit everything. "I'm not gonna be the celebrity Rustin Heber anymore. I'm gonna do what makes me happy." And from that day on, Rustin left his celebrity life and started living life as just Susie. Michelle stared at Susie in utter shock. She couldn't believe what she had discovered. "No, I'm not Rustin Heber. Rustin Heber is my boyfriend."
Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.
Hi, I'm Bella. And no, I'm nothing like the Bella from Twilight. My story is far different. And this roller coaster ride of life all started when my parents left me and my 7 other siblings when I was only 11 to go to the best place in creation. And ever since, I grew up in foster care. Now, when I say I grew up, I mean I really grew up. By the time I was 14, I was literally a 6'2" giraffe stranded in a house where I didn't look like I belonged. I've been trying to get out of foster care for a long time now, but apparently the system doesn't take height as a sign of independency. But at least the guy at Home Depot did. Hello, I'm Bella. I'm here for my interview. Oh, for the job. Hold on. I gotta get someone to take this down. Oh, I can do that. Mrs. Fantastic? Where have you been my whole life? You're hired! That's right. I basically got hired to reach things off of high shelves for my boss. But between you and I don't plan on pursuing a career as a giraffe my entire life. I have tons of hobbies, ambition, and passion. I'm the kind of girl that likes rock and roll, the kind that plays the electric guitar. And also the kind that freaks out her foster parents. Alright guys, I know how long you've all been waiting. Now let's thank the... Bella. Thank you. Can you pass me the gravy? If there's one thing I've learned in all these years of going from one foster care to another, it's just to be yourself. What kind of music does she listen to? The taste of cherry chapstick? I saw her smiling at this guy the other day. What? I saw her smiling at this girl. What's wrong with her? Is she into guys or girls? Or maybe I'm just into smiling. But it's not just my foster parents, but nobody gets me. All I really want is to be a writer. And I know one day I'm gonna make it. Dude, one day I'm gonna go deaf listening to your vlogs. Nobody asked you to listen. Exactly. So can you stop posting? You might have long hands, but your writing stinks, Bella. Don't blame her. It's just a giraffe stench. Don't worry, Belle. I called animal control. They'll take you home to the zoo. You guys are gonna regret the day I become famous. It's only time till I go viral. In your dreams. I'll show each and every one of them. The day I'll be signing books, shaking hands with J.K. Rowling and Stephen King. And, hey, I'm Lucas. Twinkle Star Wars? No, not you. That day, they're all gonna want my autograph. But as of now, I'm still working on getting my writing out there. Entering competitions and blogging. Ow, what's that pain? Am I having a heart attack? No, How could that be? I'm not even rich. What is she doing? Did she just have a heart attack? I think it's part of the script. She wanted to be a writer, not an actor. I don't know, I wasn't listening. Kids, why is Bella on the floor? Bella, call an ambulance. Where am I? You're in the hospital. What? How many days was I out? More like a couple of hours, actually. Darn, that would have been one great storyline. Last thing I remembered was having a heart attack. It wasn't a heart attack. It was a gallbladder attack. You have stones in your gallbladder, but good news is that with a small surgery, we'll remove your gallbladder and you'll be fine again. Gallbladder disease. Doesn't that happen to fast food junkies with high cholesterol? Not exactly. It could happen to others. Perhaps improper care. You haven't been eating and skipping out on meals. So when's the surgery? Not until a few days. You have a stone stuck in your common bile duct, so you'll be on antibiotics to reduce the inflammation, and until the stone passes, you'll have to wait. Great. Out of all things, who wants to hear a story about a gallbladder? Your short story was not selected for this season's publication. Another rejection. For the next 2 nights, Bella was in the hospital on her medications as the doctors monitored her and did some tests. She had a couple rounds of horrible stomach aches, but Bella has always been a fighter. It was one of these nights, however. Bella woke up hearing some noise in the halls. It sounded like the nurses and doctors were all in a rush. Bella tried to sleep, but after a while, she heard a grunting sound from the other side of the room. "Nurse, I can't take the pain." Bella curiously got down and dragged her IV with her as she pulled the curtains. There was a man groaning on the bed beside hers. "Nurse?" "Oh, I'm not the nurse. I'm your roommate. I'm dying. I'm dying from this pain. I think it's just time for another dose of morphine. Where's the nurse? I can't take this anymore." "I'll go check." Bella dragged her IV along and peered out the hallway. But the whole hospital seemed silent and empty. "There's no one here. Why did they have to bring me to this hospital?" "Right. Why are you here?" "Apparently I have a kidney stone. I was at a business conference when I passed out and they called an ambulance and brought me to the nearest hospital, or I would have never come here." "Oh, me too. Kidney stones? Nope. Have you ever heard of writer's block?" "What? You're hospitalized for writer's block? I wish. What I have is writer's gallbladder." Suddenly, the man clutched onto his stomach as he groaned in pain. "I can't take this anymore." Bella pressed the nurse's call button, but there was no response. You want to hear a story?" "What story?" "It happened on a cold, rainy night, just like tonight. There lived a family of 4 in a small village on the outskirts of Yorkshire in England. Roger, Victoria, and their 2 children, Eliza and John.
Roger was a military doctor and would often be away on duty. But after a long time, he had gotten leave and returned home to be with his family. There was one thing about Roger that was peculiar. Every time he would return, he would bring an exotic book with him. And in the evenings, he would sit by the crackling fire and read for hours. But on one particular rainy night, Roger began to feel an uneasy pain in his chest. "Victoria, could you get me some hot tea?" Victoria made some tea for the two and planned to join him. "Roger," she called, but he didn't reply. Roger, sensing something wasn't right, Victoria went to shake her husband. But she realized he was no more. Victoria was struck by grief and shock, and living in this small village, there was no one she could call at the moment.
So she did what she could. Victoria covered Roger's body and waited, hoping in the morning she would get help. But that night, as she was putting her two kids to bed,
She suddenly heard their dog barking outside. And soon, a knock on the door. Who could it be at this time? Lighting a lantern, Victoria opened the door to see a young man holding a luggage, trying to ward off their dog. "Who are you?" "My name is Harold. You must be Aunt Victoria. I'm a nephew of Uncle Roger. I had written him a letter that I would be visiting." Victoria wasn't too familiar with Roger's family, but in grief and despair, she invited him inside. "Harold, your uncle." When she told Harold what happened, the young man consoled her. "Don't worry, Aunt. It's quite late now. Try to rest, and tomorrow I'll arrange for help." As Victoria stayed with the children in the room upstairs, Harold prepared to spend the night downstairs by his uncle's side. The rain poured heavily, and the thunder rumbled in the air. Victoria lay in bed, unable to sleep. But some hours later that night, she began to hear their dog barking again. "What's wrong with this dog tonight?" Victoria decided to check downstairs, but as she slowly took a few steps, she began to hear a strange noise from the living room. It was a sound like that she never heard before. A wet, tearing sound. Victoria turned to peer in the living room, when she froze in horror by what she saw. In the light of the crackling fire, she stared at Harold, his long, bony fingers clawing onto her husband's body as she feasted on his flesh. Victoria stumbled back in utter fear. Without waiting, she ran upstairs and picked up her two children before she sneaked out the back door of their house. In the heavy rain, she wrapped her children and ran towards their neighbor's home, not not knowing what else to do. All she knew was that it wasn't safe to return. Victoria? What happened? In my house, there's... What happened after that? Just then, the nurse rushed inside the room. "Mr. Wilson, I'm so sorry. There was an emergency in the OR. All the nurses and doctors had to be there. I came as soon as I saw you called. How are you feeling?" I'm a little better now. Looks like it's time for your medication." As the nurse tended to Mr. Wilson, Bella laid back down on her bed and finally tried to get some sleep. The next morning, her doctor came in. "Good news, Miss Bella. The results of your MRCP came in negative. The stone seems to have passed, so we'll be preparing for your surgery today." Bella was a bit nervous at first as she was taken in the OR. But just seconds into feeling the needle of the anesthesia, she was out. Bella opened her eyes. She was in the room again. The surgery was over. But the moment she tried to move, she felt a piercing pain from her incisions. Bella opened up her phone. To her surprise, she had tons of messages and calls. She opened up her BII book. "Congratulations on your new book. It's ranking bestseller across the country." My book? What? When? How did this happen? Bella was shocked, realizing someone had compiled her stories into a book and had published it through the BII Cosmopolitan, and her work went absolutely viral overnight. "Bella, you have a visitor." Bella looked up to see Mr. Wilson. "Mr. Wilson? How are you doing?" "I'm better." Mr. Wilson handed Bella a gift and an envelope. "Congratulations on the book. This is your royalty check." "My royalty check?" "Bella, that night when we spoke, it was one of the most painful nights of my life. I had a kidney stone, but your story somehow almost gave me a heart attack, but it helped me get through the pain. I'll never forget that night. I was really impressed. And after I left the hospital, I tried to reach out to know about you. And I found your blog and read your work. I work for the BII Corp, and through some people I know, I got your work published on the BII Cosmopolitan. Mr. Wilson, thank you so much for everything." "Bella, I didn't do anything. I just put your writing out there." Bella smiled as she opened the gift and took out the first copy of her very own book. "This is amazing. Now, are you going to tell me who or what was that man? What happened that night?" "That's to be continued."
Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting. The Van Dyke family lived in a two-story home in the small town of Rosmalen, Netherlands. Mr. and Mrs. Van Dyke were proud parents to two wonderful boys, Sven and Levin. Every morning in their peaceful household, Mrs. Van Dyke would be the first to wake up, open the curtains, let in the fresh breeze, after which she would bring in the day's water from the well. Once breakfast would be ready, she would wake up her husband and her sons. "Levin, Sven, it's time to wake up." "Levin, where's your brother?" "I'm here, Mother." Mrs. Van Dyke held her head, seeing her younger son, Sven, about to leap from the wardrobe onto his brother in attempt to wake up the late snoozer. "Wake up!" This is Levin and Sven, 10 and 8 years old. Levin was a relaxed, peaceful, cautious child, until this one joined the family 2 years later. And it had been non-stop mayhem in the house since. Not to say they weren't good children, they were lovely. But they just knew how to drive their mother crazy. Just the other day, one of their neighbors had showed up at the house. Mrs. Alder, with her son, who so happened to have a big bruise on his forehead. "Mrs. Alder, how did this happen?" "Sven did this to me." "Mrs. Van Dyke, this kind of behavior is unacceptable. There could have been a worse accident." Mrs. Van Dyke was awfully embarrassed. Her 2 boys were going out of control, and their mischief had to be brought to a stop. "What do you think you 2 boys were doing? Have I not told you to stay out of trouble when you go out to play?" "It's not his fault, Mom. That little twerp kept pushing Sven and laughing at us." "Levin, so this is what you're going to teach your brother?" "Someone's got to stand up and teach that twerp a lesson. He deserved it." "You boys, I'm letting this go this time, but I'm warning you, Sven and Levin, don't get into fights with anyone." Levin and Sven weren't just brothers, but they were the best of friends. If you dared pick on one, know you'd have to fight off 2. Almost every day, the boys skipped out on their tutor and hurried off to the fields where they played with the other kids in the neighborhood. But before they got there, they always made a stop. "How are you, boy? Are you hungry? Mom made bagels today." This was Yorick. Levin and Sven spotted this dog in the exact same spot every day on their way to the field. And what started as a once-in-a-while thing became a ritual because they knew Yorick would be waiting for them. The boys always remembered to bring a treat for their little buddy, and over the days, Yorick had bonded with them a lot. The dog followed them to the field and sat around to watch them play. And Levin and Sven sometimes even played fetch with the dog. "Aw, man, the ball fell in the pond. How are we gonna get it? Mom isn't gonna spare us today if we return home all muddy, okay?" "Thanks, buddy. You can't find a friend like Yorick." As the boys played with Yorick, they suddenly felt a tap on their shoulder. They turned around to see a big, broad 13-year-old behind them, who looked a whole lot similar to someone. But who? Who? Twerp. Levin and Sven stared at the twerp walk out from behind his big brother with a smirk on his face. "They took my ball, brother." "What? This isn't your ball, you liar." "Which one was it, Derek?" Derek's brother said, cracking his knuckles. "Him," the twerp shouted, pointing at Sven. "Are you gonna give the ball, or do you want to say hello to this fist?" "You don't scare us," Sven bravely said. But deep down inside, he was a little skeptic if he would win this one. The brothers passed each other a glance as the twerp and his brother cackled on. But just as Derek's brother was to throw a punch at Levin, Yorick suddenly began barking. The dog ran between them and aggressively charged at Derek. "Go, boy, go! Get out of here!" But just as Derek's brother tried to kick Yorick away, the dog almost bit him. Afraid and bewildered, the tough, big, brute 13-year-old fled as his twelfth brother followed after, and Yorick after them. Sven shouted at them, laughing his guts out. "Yeah, run like a scaredy cat. Who's the sissy now?" "You idiot, we only got away because of Yorick." That day, Yorick followed after the boys all the way back home as if protecting them. However, when they reached near the house, Mrs. Van Dyke frowned at the sight of the stray dog. Shoo from here." Yorick suddenly started barking at Mrs. Van Dyke as the boys tried to calm him down. "It's all right, Yorick, this is Mom, the one that makes the awful bagels," Sven whispered. "Sven, don't touch that thing, go wash your hands." "Mom, this is Yorick, he's a good dog, can we keep him?" "Absolutely not, who knows where it came from?" Mrs. Van Dyke pulled her boys inside and closed the fence on the dog. Sven and Levin had been watching Yorick from the window all evening. Yorick had quietly nestled under the shade of a tree outside their fence. The dog hasn't left yet? This is why you don't play with stray animals. But despite the disapproval of Mrs. Van Dyke, from then on Yorick always roamed around the house waiting for Sven and Levin to come out. Together they would go out to play, and when they returned, Yorick would return back as well to his new home. "Luke, you have to get rid of that dog. It's been roaming around the house for the past week now." "No, Dad, please. Please, Dad, we like him. Can we keep him?" "Oh, what's the issue, Sophie? It's not like the dog ever comes inside. It's always sitting out." Mrs. Van Dyke sighed as she went to make breakfast. "One of these days that dog is going to attack me. It's always barking at me when I go out." She opened up the cupboard, confused to see the bottle of milk she collected this morning was empty. "Sven, Levin, you boys! What do you think you boys are doing?" "Mom, Yorick was hungry." Mrs. Van Dyke was getting tired of the boys taking food out to this dog. She would wake up in the morning to find the cookies in the cabinet gone, or go to make lunch and find the bread basket half empty. It was on one of these mornings, however, Mrs. Van Dyke woke up bright and early to get a head start on the day. But as soon as she went out to the yard, she sighed, seeing the dog still sitting where it usually did. "Still a long day to go," she said, picking up the bucket to head to the well. It was some time later that morning that Sven and Levin woke up hearing Yorick barking continuously outside. When they rushed out to their room, they found their father heading downstairs. "That dog has been barking for so long now. Maybe your mother was right. It's time you boys get rid of it." Sven and Levin jumped down the flight of stairs and made it out the door before their father to find Yorick had jumped over the fence into the yard. He never did that. As soon as the dog saw them, he rushed to them and began jumping and barking. "What is it, boy? What's wrong?" Yorick suddenly bit onto Levin's pants and began pulling him. "What happened? What's gotten into that dog?" "I don't know, Dad. He never behaves like this." Sven pulled Yorick loose from his brother, when all of a sudden the dog jumped out of his arms and ran towards the well. That's when the family heard a faint, weary voice from the bottom of the well. "Sven, Levin, where are you boys?" "Sophie? Luke, help me up!" Mr. Van Dyke immediately got a rope and threw it down to his wife. When Mrs. Van Dyke was finally up, soaking in water, she cried out, "I fell in there almost an hour ago. Couldn't you all hear me?" "We were all sleeping, Sophie." Sven and Levin rubbed Yorick's back. "If it wasn't for Yorick, we wouldn't have found you. He brought us here." From that day, Mr. Van Dyke allowed the boys to bring Yorick inside, although the dog was only allowed to stay out in the yard. Sven and Levin then built a small dog house for Yorick, and over the days, they even caught their mother going out to meet him. Sven and Levin were out one morning on one of their many adventures. Oftentimes, they would venture out far into the forest near their home, and along with them, Now Yorick was always there. After a long day, the boys sprinted through the forest path, collecting a few pebbles on their way back home. When they suddenly spotted a broken-down house, they had never taken this exact route before. And looks like they found an awesome hideout today. They stepped onto the porch and opened the creaking door. Looks like an old house of worship. Creepy. Come on, let's go inside. The two boys walked into a dusty room. Old benches now covered in spider webs, holes in the roof, and to the far front, an altar with now shriveled up flowers laying to the ground. This place is pretty cool. We have to tell the others, Sven said as his voice echoed. Or we can make this our own secret place. All of a sudden, the boys were startled by a rustling sound beneath the benches. They thought it was Yorick, but they turned to see Yorick sitting by the door. As they walked down the aisle checking the rows, they flinched seeing a snake jump out and hiss at them. "It's a viper! Get a stick, get something!" But the boys suddenly found themselves cornered. The snake lifted up its body, about to jump onto them, when Yorick suddenly hurled himself on top of it. Sven and Levin ran to the door as they watched Yorick wrestle with the snake until he suddenly cried out. "We have to help him." The boys grabbed a few sticks from outside and rushed back in to see the snake had slithered away, but Yorick was laying on the ground, crouched up. "It bit him," Levin said, holding the dog's leg. "Let's take him home quickly." Sven and Levin ran all the way home with Yorick in their arms. They called their parents out, who told them to let the dog rest. Mr. Van Dyke brought out some warm water and washed the dog's wound. However, as the afternoon passed, Yorick's cries only got louder. His leg is swelling up. "Mom, Dad, we have to do something." "Sophie, why don't you call Miss Hansen? She might have something with her." Miss Hansen was a village doctor who lived nearby. Mrs. Van Dyke brought her over that evening. However, she wasn't able to suggest anything. "Do you boys know what snake it was?" "Yes, it almost attacked us. It was a viper." "I'm sorry, boys. There isn't much I can do. There is no remedy to its venom." Sven and Levin stayed with Yorick the rest of the evening, trying to comfort him, but nothing seemed to work. "Boys, it's time you go inside. It's getting late." The boys heavy-heartedly covered Yorick with a blanket and went inside. They barely had a few morsels of food that night and went to bed. "Levin, what are we going to do?" "Keep patience, Sven. Maybe tomorrow he'll be better." But it was difficult to sleep with Yorick crying on and on late into the night from the pain. And it was sometime near midnight that the boys overheard their parents speaking. "We have to do this, Sophie. It's better than letting the dog suffer." "Is there no other way?" "I wish there was. He's suffering. We have to relieve him from his pain. Sometimes it's not easy taking the right decision, but you have to do it." Sven suddenly became anxious as he heard his father open the door and his footsteps go down the stairs. "No!" he shouted out, but Levin held him back. "Levin, let me go!" "Sven, stop. Father is right. He's in pain. He's not going to make it." The brothers huddled by their window as they watched their father walk out to Yorick's doghouse. Tears fell from their eyes as they stared at Yorick struggling to get up upon seeing their father. Mr. Van Dyke laid him down, rubbing his head. "Easy, boy, easy." Their hearts raced as Levin and Sven shut their eyes, and in moments, they listened to the sound of their father's rifle. "I'm sorry, boy. You were truly man's best friend. Rest in peace." click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.
There wasn't a single moment I thought she would leave me, but I was so stupid. I'm done with women. I'm never falling in love again. Yeah, dude, nobody saw it coming. Are you mocking me? You talk as if it was so obvious. It was, dude. We all saw it coming. What? Breaking up with his girlfriend after a long 3-month relationship, Calvin and his buddies, Jake and Ethan, came out to the shore so he could let out his sorrows. But instead, when Calvin slipped and fell onto the ragged rocks by the shore, his friends had to rush him to the ER. Could today get any worse? Yeah. The vending machine is broken. The friends were waiting for the x-ray results when Jake peeked out the curtains hearing a voice. Dude, she's like a supermodel. How did she become a nurse? You're right, and she's young. Who are you guys looking at? Awfully curious, Calvin limped on his leg and peeked out. Wow, she is beautiful. Really? I thought your interests in women were long gone. Mr. Williams, your x-ray results have come in. Calvin turned to see the woman who had taken his x-ray. So, did I fracture my ankle? I'm afraid it's a bit more complicated than that. The x-rays show a full-blown rupture of your tendon, but luckily, it can be treated with an immediate minor surgery. No, thank you. I'm fine. I don't need surgery. No, Mr. Williams. This needs to be treated as soon as possible or the condition will get worse and then we'll have to amputate your feet. Amputate? Alright, fine. Are you going to do it? No, she's going to do it. The friends turned to see the beautiful young woman. How is everything? She said, taking a look at the x-ray. Wait. She's going to do my surgery? This schoolgirl with tattoos? She's like really young. Is she even a doctor? She's the only on-call surgeon available tonight. The young woman looked at Calvin shocked, but chuckled. Dr. Sarah Cargill, don't worry, no one has ever lost life in my hands. As the nurse took him into the surgery room and administered the anesthesia, Calvin stared at Sarah putting on her mask. Don't worry, it's my first surgery. What? Wait, no! William woke up in a hospital room. Surprisingly, he didn't feel the pain anymore. As he sat up, the door opened and there was Sarah. Mr. Williams? You're alive? Thank goodness they didn't shift you to the morgue. I thought you died. What? Well, I was hoping you would die. Kind of messed up during the surgery and then we had to amputate your feet. No, please, no. Calvin lifted up his blankets, squinting a glance as Sarah burst out laughing. Be at ease. Everything went well. You'll be discharged tomorrow and the injury should heal in a couple weeks. Calvin too couldn't help but smile as she checked his feet and wished him a fast recovery. He felt a bit embarrassed for the way he had judged her before. Dude, I owe her an apology. Bring flowers on your way, okay? Is this an apology or a date? I thought you were never gonna fall in love again. Just do it, dude. The evening Calvin was discharged, he asked to meet Sarah last time. Mr. Williams? It's Calvin. I owe you an apology for my behavior. I was kinda having a bad day. Flowers. This was Calvin and Sarah's first meeting of many meetings to come. At first, it was doctor's appointments. But then they started to meet outside and got to learn about each other. Calvin was the type of guy who was soft-hearted, living a safe, secure, and peaceful life. But Sarah was all about living life on the edge, the adrenaline rush. On their first date, Sarah's idea of a thrilling night was going to an amusement park and riding the tallest roller coaster there was. I think I'll skip. I have a weak heart. Please, your pulse rate is just fine. There wasn't a moment when Sarah would stop, take in the fresh air, and chill. You live in Santa Monica and you don't know how to surf? Let's go, Calvin! Sarah, there's no one in the water. They spotted a shark. How did someone like you become a doctor? When you're a doctor, you learn the value of life, and you know you only have one, so you make the best out of it. And soon, Calvin too found himself doing things that he would never have done. Let's get matching tattoos. Tattoos? Come on, Calvin, I have a bunch of them and you're just getting one. And like they say, opposites attract. And before long, Calvin and Sarah were madly in love. It was one weekend that the couple spontaneously decided to take a road trip to Las Vegas. Alright, Sarah, we're here, but promise me you're not going to do anything crazy. Before Calvin could even finish, Sarah ran into the casino. Calvin went after her, but soon found her standing amongst the crowd. Bella, will you marry me? Jacob, are you serious? As the crowd started cheering, say yes, say yes. Sarah turned to search for Calvin. Calvin, let's get married. Sarah, are you serious? Of course I'm serious. What about our families? Who cares about families? You only visit them on the holidays, and I've always been like this. I now pronounce you husband and wife. We got married! Surprise! When Sarah and Calvin returned to Santa Monica, they hosted a small party and announced their marriage. You guys aren't surprised? We guessed you two would do something like that. Married life together turned out to be beautiful. And not long after did Sarah give Calvin the news that she was expecting. Sarah, it's not one life anymore, it's two. So no more crazy adventures, no hunting, no surfing with sharks, or trying to drive like Fast and Furious. There is no way you are pulling a Tarzan stunt with our car with my baby. Alright. Together, the couple prepared everything the baby could possibly need in their first year of life. And it seemed within a blink of an eye, the 9 months went by. And Sarah and Calvin had their baby girl in their arms. What are we going to name her? Angela. Where's the little kiddo? Can we hold her? No, don't touch her. Don't worry, we washed our hands, but she's still fragile. Okay. No one's gonna mess with the mama bear. After 3 days at the hospital, both Sarah and Angela were doing great and were ready to return home. I've scheduled your postpartum appointments. I'll see you soon. Doctor, how long after childbirth do we have to wait? About 4 to 6 weeks. The small, happy family returned home, and everything seemed fine. But soon, things started to change. Calvin noticed Sarah had been staying away from him and avoiding intimacy. and he understood why, but he was desperate to be with his wife again. He waited for those 6 weeks to pass in which he tried to help Sarah every way he could. Well, looks like someone needs a new diaper. Give her to me, I'll do it. It's okay, take a break, I'll take care of her. No, I said I'll do it. Whenever Calvin would come into the nursery to check up on Angela, Sarah too would hurry in. Sometimes she even stayed in the nursery overnight. Whenever Calvin tried talking to Sarah and trying to spend time with her, she pushed him away. I said, "No, Calvin, stop it. Calvin, stay away." Things got to the point where his mere presence would even bother Sarah. It was one evening he had just walked into the kitchen. When Sarah turned around startled, "What are you doing?" "Not doing anything." Calvin couldn't understand why Sarah was behaving like this. Had he done something? So one night, Calvin decided to confront her. "Calvin, I said don't touch me." "Why? What happened? Why are you behaving like this? I understand things are different for you postpartum, but it's like our relationship is falling apart. You can't tolerate me anymore. You don't even want to be in the same room. And you've been behaving so strange and possessive with Angela." "It's nothing." Without answering anything, Sarah stormed out and locked herself in the nursery with Angela. And this time, Calvin too stayed put in his room, feeling so frustrated. But it was sometime in the middle of the night, he heard Sarah slowly creep into the room. "You're still awake? You haven't slept? Calvin, I'm going to tell you something that I've never told anyone before." "What?" "You've never met my parents, but I come from a very rich family. But my life was far from good. As far as I can remember, it had been happening with me around the time I was 6. He used to touch me. I was too young to realize what was going on, and he always told me not to tell, so I remained silent. But when I turned about 9 or 10 years old, I started to feel strange when he used to do all the things he did. But even then, I didn't have the courage to say anything." "Who did this to you?" "My father." "What? And what about your mother? She didn't do anything about it?" "My mother knew." Sarah Cargill was the eldest daughter to Richard and Elizabeth Cargill. Her father was a very influential businessman, and those who knew them saw them as a very respected and dignified family. But the truth behind the walls of the Cargill estate was far different. Sarah felt imprisoned in her own home, going through something that she was ashamed to speak of. And things only became worse as she aged. When she became a woman and completely understood the reality of the matter. When it all started as a child, she used to be scared every time her door creaked open at night, and she saw her father step inside. She was afraid, not knowing what he was going to do. She wished he would just leave, but he wouldn't. Every night, she couldn't sleep in fear that it was going to happen again. But as the years passed by, the fear became a numb pain. Hearing her father's footsteps, seeing him close the door, she knew why he was here and what he was going to do with her. On the other hand, her mother too sensed something wasn't right. She would often find her husband leaving the room in the middle of the night. She would sometimes follow him to see him going into her daughter's room. And when he would return, she would hear Sarah crying, but she chose to turn a blind eye. She thought about the family's honor and prestige and remained silent. She tried to treat Sarah with love and compassion to make up for what she was going through. But Sarah grew up traumatized, expected to behave as if everything was normal, when it wasn't. Mr. Donahue, meet my wife and my eldest daughter, Sarah, the lady of the house. Sarah felt disgusted hearing her father call her his daughter. How could he put on this act after what he did to her last night, the night before? Sarah was suffocated living that lie. So when she turned 16, she decided she would leave this family and this life. She stole her mother's jewelry and some money from her father's safe and ran away from home, taking a bus not knowing where it would lead her. Eventually, she settled in a small coastal town in California, where she rented an apartment and got a job as a waitress, and enrolled herself into college. Since she was a good student, she focused on her studies, and after a lot of hard work and also preference of her professors due to her looks, Sarah completed her medical degree and became a surgeon. But her past memories kept on traumatizing her. So Sarah always lived a hyper life. She always kept herself occupied doing the most craziest of things, because sustaining that excitement helped her forget the pain of her past. But it was after she met Calvin, those memories were somehow overshadowed, and she felt normal. However, when they had their daughter and Sarah saw Angela's face for the first time, all those memories returned, and deep down inside, she was traumatized again. I know you're a very different person from my father, but I'm unable to psychologically overcome my fear. I feel scared what happened to me might happen with Angela. You went through so much injustice, and you didn't tell me. These perverts of the society get the courage to do these kind of things because of people like us who remain silent. People like your mother who collaborate with them. We have to take a step. We can't keep quiet. For our daughter. For every daughter. So Calvin and Sarah filed a case against her father, Richard Cargill, and as proof, Sarah visited her old psychiatrist that her parents made her visit as a child for abnormal and depressive behavior. Will you come to court and help me? Yes, of course. Don't worry, I'll be there. The day Sarah stood in court, she was fully prepared in front of her father and mother, determined to fight this. However, as the case progressed, Sarah found herself in legal trouble when her father pleaded not guilty. Sarah turned a glance at her psychiatrist. She was the only person who could turn this case around. Your Honor, Sarah Cargill was a patient of mine in her childhood years, and she was a troubled child. She had a relationship with a boy, and when her father became an obstacle to that, she held a grudge against him and spread all these rumors. Sarah and Calvin were thundered as her psychiatrist changed her word, and her father's lawyer smirked, walking up to wrap up on the case. Your Honor, Richard Cargill is a very wealthy, influential man. His daughter had stolen money from him and ran away from his home when she was only 16 and never returned. These allegations aren't true. The only reason she filed this case was to trap her father to claim a share in his property and wealth. The whole thing is a mere setup. After taking into consideration all evidence, the court releases Richard Cargill from all allegations. However, investigation will be done on Sarah Cargill for defamation. Hearing the judge, Sarah couldn't stay put anymore. She stood up and looked at her mother straight in the eye. "You call yourself a mother? Don't you have any shame? Order, order, please remain civil, or you will be arrested for the contempt of court. The whole time you knew, and you ignored what was happening to me. You will stay silent even now and pretend like nothing happened? You aren't my mother. You're my enemy." Elizabeth quietly listened to her daughter shout until she saw the police come forth to hold her back, and realized this had gone on long enough. "Your Honor, I want to confess. What happened with my daughter is true. Her father had paid her psychiatrist to give a false witness, but all these years I knew, but I remained silent. I'm equally guilty of his sin." Hearing her mother come in front of everyone and give witness to everything, Sarah fell in shock as tears fell from her eyes. There was an uproar in the courtroom. Richard Cargill will be arrested and kept in custody as further investigation is done, and a case shall be filed against Dr. Cullen for having given a false witness. After the investigation was complete, the family met in court again for the final hearing. Richard Cargill was found guilty of the allegations made by Sarah Cargill and is sentenced to 5 years' time. Sarah sighed as her father was taken away by the police. What was the point of all of this? He wasn't punished. He's going to spend a month in probation and get out. Sarah, maybe he wasn't punished, but he didn't get away with it. Now people know. Even after years, it came back and destroyed him. People like him get the courage to do these kind of things because they think they will get away with it. But now they will know they won't. Calvin picked up their daughter in his arms, and it was all for her. So what happened to you doesn't happen with anyone.
Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.
Minister! Minister! Ezra, what has happened? Inside. Mr. Edelman, what has happened? What is the commotion about? Oh Lord, my Lord! It was her! Lord, punish her!
Oh, Lord, punish her!
In the small town of Boswell, nestled near the Appalachians, it is peace and quiet. People of this neighborhood are like a big family. Everyone knows everyone, and everyone is kind and caring towards each other. Most of the people here attend the town church every Wednesday evening for the weekly sermons. But on this evening, when the church was opened, Minister Edelman and the townsfolk were distraught by what they saw. Who could have done such a wretched thing besides the Millers? They all presumed. Joanna Miller and her son, Owen Miller, they were different from the people of this town. At first, the townspeople tried to open up to them and welcome them to the community. Even Minister Edelman invited them to their church. But the Millers neither spoke to anyone nor tried to get to know anyone. They just wanted to be by themselves. Just as the townspeople did every now and then, they arranged a block party where everyone was welcome. It was a cool, windy evening. The kids were out playing. Everyone was enjoying and conversing with one another. But the minute Joanna arrived, a sense of fear and dread ran through them all. The entire block fell silent as they all watched Joanna. She came dressed in black. There was not a smile, not an expression on her face, as she held a cake in her hands. There was something dark about the Millers. And sure enough, that was the day the horror began in this town. That night, suddenly, the rain began to pour, ruining the whole occasion. There was no forecast, no sign, nothing that would indicate it. But something even stranger happened. All the food at the party suddenly became spoiled. How did this happen? Everything is ruined. Do you think it was because of her? And things only got worse from there. The next Wednesday evening, when the town church was unlocked, people were horrified as rats. Hundreds of rats scurried around. The creatures had ruined the furniture, the walls, everything. The holy place had become ruined in filth. Rats! Where did all these rats come from? Everyone leave! The church became infested with rats almost overnight. And not long after, a strange disease spread within the neighborhood. Do you think she has cursed us? Goodness gracious. Save us, Lord. Save us. And now, after everything that has happened, no one in this town feels safe anymore. Daniel, how did this happen? Tell me who did this to you. Mother, I'm scared. The way she was looking at me, it was like she would take my soul away. That witch. Don't worry, son. Tomorrow we'll go to the minister. Something has to be done. Mrs. Benowitz and her son Daniel went to visit Minister Edelman the very next evening. Things couldn't go on like this, and as a mother, she couldn't accept her son's life in danger. It was her, Minister Edelman. She's gotten her eyes on my son. I warned you people about her, but you didn't listen. Your son befriended that woman's son, didn't he? It's not just your son anymore. This entire town has been hexed. Minister Edelman, my son has been foolish. Isn't there something we can do about her? As of now, Daniel's condition isn't well. The only option for you is to take him far from this town for a while, until he heals. So without much choice, Mrs. Benowitz and Daniel packed their bags and left the very next morning. They traveled to the next town and settled at her sister's place. But it was later that night, Mrs. Benowitz received a call from the police. There's been a fire at your house. What? He told me his mother would burn down our house. What? After the death of her husband, Joanna and her son, Owen, sold off everything they had in the city and moved to this small town. With the little savings she had, she opened a bakery here, and she and Owen were trying to get by. And at the beginning, things were going fine. Joanna was kind and polite to her neighbors, and customers were starting to come to her bakery. It was one evening, Minister Edelman came to her bakery. Hello, welcome to the Miller's Bakery. Hello, I'm Minister Edelman. Welcome to our neighborhood. Thank you, I'm Joanna. Minister Edelman was polite, and they had some small talk, and Joanna tried to entertain him. This is my bakery special, apple crumb cake. It's delicious. Do you bake everything here yourself? Yes, Mr. Edelman. I'm glad you like it. You should come over more often. Perhaps I will. You should also come to our church this Wednesday for the weekly sermon. Oh, Mr. Edelman, I got to know about your church as soon as I moved to this town, but we belong to a different denomination. Oh, so you're from a different denomination. I see. That's no problem. Everyone is welcome in this town. But Minister Edelman had different thoughts in mind. When he realized Joanna and Owen were from a different denomination and conversion wasn't an option for them, he began to badmouth them. We have to be careful as to who is moving into our neighborhood, or else the wrath of the Lord will fall on us. Do you all think these outsiders are just like us? No, they're misguided. Their beliefs are corrupted. They have strayed from the path of the Lord. They are worshippers of darkness. And they are here to take over our town, to misguide our children, to deviate us from our faith, to make us like them. And it was ever since. People in town began to stay away from the Millers, avoided Joanna, and mistreated Owen. Joanna could notice the difference she was experiencing at the market, but she couldn't understand what it was about. And then she began to notice a lot of her customers stopped coming to the bakery as well. On the other hand, Owen wasn't doing so bad coping in the new environment. He was doing well in school and even made some new friends. Hello, Mrs. Benowitz. What do you want? Is Daniel here? We were supposed to meet. Yes. Who is it, Mom? It's that boy. Why is he here? Didn't I tell you to stay away from him? He and his mother are not welcome in our family. Mom, he goes to my school. He's just like me. Oh, so he's already begun to brainwash you. Owen had joined the soccer team at school and made friends with Daniel and the boys. And for their finals, Owen was able to help their team win. Wow, Owen, you were amazing out there. Thanks. Look who's flirting with Kelly. I think I'll have to teach that kid a lesson he'll never forget. That night, Daniel and his friends planned to scare Ethan and set up firecrackers at his place. What's that smell? Mom, there's a fire! Owen, get the hose! Joanna and Owen somehow managed to put the fire out, but they couldn't find any explanation to how it all happened. Until 2 days later, Daniel and his gang confronted Owen. Where are you going? Oh, I was just about to catch up with you guys on the field. That's alright. I don't think you'll be playing with us anymore. Why not? I hope you learned your lesson that night. What? It was you? You started the fire? I thought you were my friend. We're not friends with witches and their sons. What did you call my mom? That day, a fight broke out, and Owen fell off the roadside. Shoot. Come on, we have to get out of here. Fortunately, one of the townsmen who were fishing discovered Owen's body and took him to the hospital. But Owen was in a near-death situation. Owen, how did this happen? Mom, we should move out of this town. Why? When Joanna heard what happened, she was shocked. She immediately went to the police and filed a complaint against the Benowitz. Mrs. Miller, we have investigated. It was an accident. Hear it from the witness yourself. Daniel, tell her. We were riding our bicycles and Owen was riding too fast and he fell. Seeing the police support the Benowitz, Joanna was furious. There was nothing she could do legally. But that day, she decided she would teach these townspeople a lesson. And that evening, at the block party, her cake was her declaration of war. But what happened with all the food that night had nothing to do with her. Perhaps it was some sort of divine intervention. It was Joanna who caused the infestation of rats in the church. And it was due to the negligence of hygiene of the townspeople that they caught the disease. It was only then that the suffering caused them to fear her. And finally, they left her and her son alone. And now, as Mrs. Benowitz and Daniel stared at their home burn down, she was furious. I know it was them. That mother and son. They did it. They'll never get away with this. But it was right then. One of the firemen came forward. Mrs. Benowitz, it couldn't have been them. The entire incident was an accident. The basement boiler had gotten quite old. There was an explosion. What? This can't be. They must have done it somehow. It was due to a mechanical malfunction. Nobody caused it to happen. No, I know that witch. It was her. She did it. First my son, and now, as she couldn't get to my son, she burnt down my home. As Mrs. Benowitz went on and on yelling, Daniel stopped her. No, Mom. They were not the witches. We were the witches. They were helpless when they came here. They never tried to harm us. We treated them bad for being different. We were jealous of their every goodness and success. Mrs. Miller lost business because of us. Owen almost lost his life because of me. I caused a fire at their house. But it was the Lord who took down our house. And had we not moved out of the house for them, perhaps we would be burning in this house tonight.
Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting. It was early before dawn in the small town of Capeville in Virginia. David Abbott went out to the beach shore. All he could hear was the gentle motion of the waves splashing against the rocky shore as he walked down the boardwalk. There was a cool breeze in the air, gently moving through the wispy clouds in the sky. The horizon was just starting to gleam with red as the sun peeked over the waters. David took in a deep breath as he raised his hands to the heavens and began praying. "My Lord, bless these people. Let them see the light." "Morning, David. I'm on a run today." "Morning, William. Take a break and smile once in a while. A smile goes a long way." "You too, man." There are two ways of spreading light: to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. Do good things and good things will happen to you. I walk down the street every day and see you have a new banner up giving around advice. David straightened his posture and looked at a man, well dressed in a suit and tie, his hands in his pocket, and a grim smirk on his face as he stared down at him. When you hear good advice, you should take it in and pass it on. "Why do you write all these things? This is going to happen and that is going to happen. I hear you call yourself a prophet. What is that about?" "I am a prophet." "Really? And this is your condition on the streets?" "All right. So you must be able to predict the future for me. Tell me if the stock prices are going to raise or not. Update me on the stock market." David leaned back and let out a sigh, looking at the people pass by on the streets. "I don't know." Upon hearing David's words, the man shrugged. "Then what good are you for? What a useless prophet." He snickered as he walked on in his branded shoes. "Sometimes you should let go of the materialistic things and hold on to the things that have real value. Your father is sick. Maybe you want to make amends with him before it's too late." The man suddenly stopped and looked around. "How did you know my father is?" Throughout the many days David had been living on the streets, he saw all kinds of people. Some folks stopped to talk, while others didn't even pass a glance. "I owe you, man. It's like you saw right through her that day. I broke up with that gold digger a week ago. Life has changed 180 degrees. I feel like I can walk again without that chick trying to pull me down. Thanks for the advice." Some folk were generous, while others were stingy. Some folk were believers, while others were skeptic.
Do you work to make money so you can eat? Or do you eat so that you can work to make money? Don't add years to life, add life to years. Aspire to inspire before you expire.
What kind of advice is that? It's the truth. Yeah, you call yourself a prophet, right? Tell me today's lottery numbers, and I'll leave behind a legacy before I die. I don't know the lottery numbers. Then pull your head out of the sand, man. You're no prophet. How do you expect people to do greater things when they have to worry about rent and bills? I gotta win me a lottery for all I care. David watched the man scratch his lottery ticket as he walked down the street. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice call him. He turned to see Grace. She was a student at the nearby college, one of the nicest young women David had the pleasure of meeting since he had been out here. "Why do you tolerate all these people?" "If you want to change people, you have to tolerate them first. These are people who don't know." Grace shook her head. "Exactly my point, David. This is why people treat you like this. You shouldn't let them say just whatever they want. If they were in your place, they wouldn't tolerate it. Why can't you just be a normal person?" Grace took out a paper bag from her backpack and gave it to David with a smile. "Pizza with extra cheese and mushrooms. I'm having the same for lunch." David chuckled. "If I was a normal person, you wouldn't be bringing me pizza for lunch every day, okay?" "Yeah, unfortunately, not everyone can see you for who you truly are. People are judgmental. By the way, took your advice to just chill before the exams last week, and guess what? I got an A. I don't even know how I did it. I don't know how you did it." "It was just a guess. You're an intelligent woman." David picked up his pen and wrote on his board. "What are you writing?" "Inspiration is everywhere, Grace." Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Don't judge others unless you're perfect. David walked down the shore for a breath of fresh air. He dropped his bag onto the sand and went to the waters, looking up at the skies. Hey, isn't that the guy that calls himself a prophet? Whoa, what is he doing? He comes here to pray? Why don't you go ask him? Maybe he'll know where we'll find a lot of fish. Yeah, right, like divine inspiration is a real thing. No, come on, let's go. Hey, what are you doing here? David turned to look at two men carrying their fishing equipment. Nothing, just here for some peace and quiet. You're the guy that predicts the future, right? Tell us where we can catch some good fish around here. David looked at the waves. If you come at night when the waters are still, you'll be able to catch a diverse variety of fish here. At night? The two men patted David on the back and chuckled. Thanks, man, we'll try it out. David stayed out on the beach shore a bit longer than usual that evening. He decided to spend the night there and found a place to sleep on the sand. Grace was walking to college like she did every day. She had bought 2 sandwiches today and planned to give one to David on the way there. But when she got to the spot where he usually sat, she found it empty. Confused, she looked around and was surprised to see David walking around trying to speak to the people. David, is everything okay? I have news. News? Yes. 2 things are going to happen soon this year. The first of which is I'm going to die. And second is what all of you will have to do once I die. Really? And what's that? Yes, sometime after I die, there will be a lunar eclipse, and on the dawn that will follow it, you, him, her, everyone in town must go and pray there on that morning. I must spread this message before the time comes, or else. Grace was a little taken aback at how serious David was. She had always seen him laid back and relaxed, but now David was up and about trying to get his strange prophecy known to the people. He spoke to numerous people on the streets, crowds coming down from the beach. Yeah, this is another one of those predictions like you predicted about the fish. We waited all night and there was nothing. Look, perhaps it's not the season right now. I spoke from my personal experience, and I passed the knowledge down to you. Yeah, keep your knowledge to yourself. You don't understand. I have no doubt that this will occur, and if you don't... Most people looked at David like he was crazy, but David knew how important this was. He went to the local TV station and requested them to show his message on their channel. Who allowed this man inside? Excuse me, mister, what are you doing here? It's very important that we spread this message. If you don't, this town might suffer a great disaster. Yeah, we have to report news from a homeless prophet now? Get out of here. David failed to make the people understand. He went to the police, who didn't give him a second look. And soon he had no other option but to visit the town hall. I'd like to speak with the mayor. I'm sorry, mister, but the mayor just doesn't speak to anyone and everyone. I have a very important message, not just for him, but for everyone in town. Yeah, we all heard your message. You need help, man. Get a job. You're going crazy living on the streets. David was soon despair of going from place to place, speaking to person. No one paid heed to his words, and when the day had truly come to pass, everyone had forgotten them. Wow, how sad. He was a good man. And a little cuckoo in the head, called himself a prophet, but he always gave people good advice. Well, his prophecies sure were entertaining. I'm gonna miss this guy. David Abbott passed away that very year. Most of the townsfolk didn't care. However, some came forward to mourn his death. But soon after, all his memories faded away, and people barely even remembered that there was once a man named David Abbott. Everyone continued on with their lives until a few weeks later, something strange occurred in town. There was an eerie wind that ran through the air, making even the thickest of trees sway from side to side. The skies had been covered in dark gray clouds for 3 days straight. I've never seen weather like this. What's going on? And soon enough, the rain started to pour as people ran inside their homes. The hail began to fall, and the thunder started to roar. What's happening? We haven't seen anything like this before. Take shelter, save yourselves. It has been a week since all connections had been cut from Capeville, Virginia, when a severe hurricane flooded the town. Meteorologists have named this hurricane Elena due to the massive lightning bolts that brightened the skies to pure whiteness. Scientists have been bewildered at the nature of this storm that only seemed to hit the area of the town of Capeville. Just this morning, when health organizations had finally managed to send relief to survivors through this brutal weather, authorities were astonished to find the town as quiet as dawn. The once beautiful town was left to nothing but ruins. Many people have lost their lives. People around the state are now mourning their death. Even the most expert meteorologists hadn't seen this coming. People say perhaps only the one from above could have saved these people from such a calamity. There was nothing we could have done to prevent it. There will be a lunar eclipse, and on the dawn that will follow it, you, him, her, everyone in town must go and pray there. I must spread this message before the time comes. You don't understand. I have no doubt that this will occur. And if you don't do this, this town might suffer a great disaster. If you come at night when the waters are still, was he a true prophet? Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting. Nora wore her jeans jacket, slipped on her sneakers, grabbed her school bag, and walked out of her room. When she came downstairs, she found her mother, Lisa, up early making her breakfast. Seeing Nora, she wiped her hands in a hurry and called her to the table. "Sweetheart, have your breakfast before you go. I made your favorite." Nora took a seat, seeing her mother's state. She could tell her mother felt guilty, supposing she was upset with her. So Nora took a few spoons and then pushed the plate back. "You don't like the sausages? Do you want me to fry you some bacon?" Her mother said, already on her way to the stove again. "No, Mom, I'm just not hungry. I'll eat later on," Nora said as she got up and wore her bag again. Lisa quickly packed a sandwich and took out a $10 bill from her purse and handed it to Nora. "Make sure you have lunch, okay?" Nora looked at her mom, being so nice to her. "It's okay, Mom. You don't have to feel sorry," she said as she took the lunch and the money from her mother and headed out the door. Nora lived with her parents towards the suburbs of Fargo in North Dakota. In her neighborhood, the houses were spaced quite far apart, and shopping meant you had to drive to the nearest mall about an hour away. Nora was a freshman in high school. Every morning, she had to walk about half an hour to get there, and she usually followed the main road all the way to school. It was still very early. The skies had yet to brighten. There were a few cars passing down the road, and the morning breeze felt so cold after leaving the comfort of home. She was supposed to be back 1 hour ago. I saw this coming. She probably ran off with some boy. No, Dawn, she's not like that. When the clock hit 4 and Nora didn't return home that afternoon, her parents became awfully worried. Nora was never late, and if she was going somewhere, she would tell her mother. Lisa and Don kept checking out their window, walking out on the block hoping Nora would show up. But when night fell and she didn't, anxiety soon kicked in. Lisa called all her daughter's friends. Perhaps Nora was there. "No, Mrs. Adams, Nora isn't here. Is everything okay? She didn't come to school today either." She didn't go to school? When Don overheard the matter, he became all the more agitated. "I told you this, didn't I? She ran away." "Where could she have gone? I want my daughter back, Don." After a night of restlessness, the parents went to the police the next morning. But all efforts in explaining that something wasn't right went futile. "I understand you're worried for your child, but oftentimes teenagers do these sorts of things. Maybe she'll come back." "Officer, she's only 14. She doesn't have money, she doesn't know how to drive. Where could she have gone?" "I'm sorry, miss, we can't file a missing persons report before 48 hours of the disappearance." If what the police had said turned out to be true, that would be a relief. But 48 hours went by and Nora didn't return. The police then set out on investigation. However, they were unable to locate her or even find a clue. 5 years had gone by since Lisa's daughter had gone missing. She was devastated and heartbroken. When the police couldn't find Nora, Lisa tried to take things in her own hands. Every morning, she walked the neighborhood. Every week, she went out to pin her daughter's missing persons poster on the street poles. But months, years went by with nothing. "You have to let go, Lisa. She left us. It was her choice. There's nothing we could have done." Don tried to console his wife, but a mother's heart could never be content not knowing where or how her child was, and the days went by miserably. Until one morning, Lisa received a letter in the mail. It was from Nora. "Mom, it's been long since I last saw you. I hope you're doing well. I really missed you all these years. Don't worry about me, I'm fine. I have the support I need, I have money, and I'm doing well. I wanted to come back to you, Mom, but you're still with Don, so I choose not to. I wanted to tell you I love you and let Don know I told him. Thank you." That afternoon when Don came home, he found his wife sitting on the sofa waiting for him. Her eyes were red and teary. "Is everything okay, Lisa?" "Nora sent us a letter. She told me to let you know. She says, thank you to you." "Thank you? To me? Why would she thank me?" Early that morning, when Nora left her house and headed down the main road on her way to school, a car drove to a stop beside her. The man rolled down the window and smiled at her. "Excuse me, morning. Do you know where the BII high school is? I was recently hired there. I'm a new teacher. But I guess I've lost my way." "There is only one high school around here. If you go straight down and turn left, you'll recognize the building." "Are you a student there too?" "Yes." "Well, then I must be your new teacher. Come on, I'll drop you off." "It's all right, I'll walk there." "It's okay, let's go. We're headed to the same place anyways. Hop in." Nora took a glance at her watch. She was 15 minutes behind. "Besides, I think we're both getting late now," the man said. So on the teacher's insistence, Nora agreed. "Okay," she said, walking around and getting into the car. "So we're going to be heading straight down, right?" "Right. It shouldn't take long." Nora sat back, watching the trees on the opposite side of the highway. Not a lot of cars were out today. The sun was just starting to rise, and the patches of sunlight that seeped through the clouds finally started to heat up the day. "So what grade are you in?" "Ninth." "A freshman, cool." Nora was expecting the ride to be quick, but when another 10 minutes had gone by, and instead of turning onto the road that led to the school, the man pulled up on the highway. That's when Nora started to get a bad feeling. "Where are you going? The school was that way." The man didn't answer, but Nora could see the smirk appear on his face. "Where are you going?" "You know they don't teach properly in schools. I want to be your teacher." How about I give you some private lessons instead? Nora got a little panicked hearing the man's words. This was a trap, and there was no point of asking him to stop the car. There was only one thing she could do: open the door and jump out. But as soon as Nora put her hand out to open the door, she realized the door handles had been removed. The man chuckled, seeing the anxiety in Nora's eyes. Nora watched as he took out a gun and began spinning it in his hand. Are you going to be like those girls who scream, "Do I have to point this gun at you?" and threaten or hurt you? I really don't want to hurt you. Nora put her hand down from the door. It's okay, I'll do as you say. So you're a good girl. It was almost a half-hour's drive away, off the highway and into a secluded narrow road, that the car finally halted to a stop. Nora had no clue where she was anymore. She stared at a house and could spot a shipping container in the lawn next to it. The man got down and opened the door for Nora. There were no stores or houses anywhere near her. Don't worry, I don't forget my manners, the man said with a crooked grin. Nora got down and followed him, but instead of going inside the house, he turned around onto his lawn towards the backyard to the shipping container. I guess I'm not going to stay in the house, Nora said. Oh, you're so smart. We're going to have some good fun together. You can scream all you want. This is soundproof, he said as he pulled open the container. Ladies first. Of course, I'll go first. You can't risk me running off behind you. Nora walked into the shipping container. There was a gross smell in the air, and nothing but a flimsy blanket and a pillow laid on the floor. Nora turned, hearing the rusty, creaking noise. The man pulled the container door closed and locked it. He then stood there eyeballing Nora up and down with a wicked grin. Nora let out a breath before she took off her school bag. Hold my bag and turn around. Now don't try to be too smart. I'm not taking my eyes off of you. Smart? You have a gun? You're a 200-pound man? I'm just a 120-pound girl. I'm even giving you my bag. What are you afraid of? Take it and turn around. I want to give you a surprise. The man smirked and took Nora's bag, watching her as she started taking off her jeans jacket. Come on, turn around. I didn't know I was bringing home my boss, he said, turning around excited and confident, holding the girl's bag. What he didn't see coming was the trick Nora had up her sleeve. As soon as he turned around, Nora took out the sharpened screwdriver she always carried under her sleeve, and without hesitation, she went wild. Feeling the sharp pain pierce through his jugular vein, the man yelled out, holding his neck. But now there was no one to hear him in the soundproof shipping container. Nora stood up to nothing but silence, looking at the man laying lifeless on the floor in disgust. Thank you, Donald. After her father passed away, Nora's mother married Donald. Nora didn't like this man. She was against her mother marrying him, but she never said anything, wanting her mother to be happy in her life again. But Nora wasn't wrong of what she suspected of Donald. He was indeed an evil man, and he exposed himself the day he tried to take advantage of Nora while her mother was away. Nora was devastated by what happened. She was frozen on the spot. She didn't know what to do. She just barely managed to escape his hands that horrible day. But memories of that dreadful experience agonized her every minute of the day. She couldn't bear it. Donald, however, was confident. Nora had kept her mouth shut, and he had gotten away with it. But the next time he took his chances walking in on Nora when his wife was away, he realized things wouldn't go well for him. You want to go another round, Don? That dreadful night, Nora promised herself she wouldn't allow this to happen again. So she made her own self-defense tool. spending hours sharpening a small screwdriver that she would keep with her all the time. "If you ever try to put your filthy hands on me again, I'll kill you, Dawn." Nora never told her mother anything, but the second time around when her mother returned and saw the look on Nora's face, she knew something wasn't right. And when she spoke to Don, she could tell he wasn't telling her something too. Lisa had a hunch Don might have misbehaved with Nora, and Nora was upset. She never liked Don from the start of their marriage, and Lisa felt guilty she held herself responsible, so the next morning she tried to get her to speak. Sitting down with her at the table for breakfast, being nice to her. But all Nora said before she left for school was, "It's okay, Mom, you don't have to feel sorry." Nora wore her jacket, put her screwdriver in her sleeve, and grabbed her school bag. She had to get out of here, but she was covered in blood. Her clothes were spoiled. She searched the man's pocket and found the keys to his house. Maybe she could find some clothes or at least wash up over there. Locking the shipping container, Nora went into the man's house. There wasn't much inside, but as Nora searched through his drawers and closets, she got her hands on a good amount of money. Nora cleaned herself up, took the money, and left the house. She couldn't go back home after what she did, and she didn't want to go back home either. With the money she now had on her hands, she could put it to good use and make a way for herself. And that's exactly what Nora did. She changed her name. She found herself a place to live, she arranged a source of income for herself, and lived off the grid for the past 5 years. There were many times she had thought of contacting her mother, but she didn't do so, since she was still a minor. If she disclosed her location, the police would come and find her and return her to Dawn's house again. But after 5 years, now that she was 19, she wasn't legally bound by anything. So she finally sent news to her mother that she was safe, sound, and happy. "Nora sent us a letter. She told me to let you know," she says. "Thank you to you." Thank you? To me? Why would she thank me? Lisa read the letter again, holding it to her chest as tears flowed from her eyes. "My baby is alive." Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.
Is someone crying? Are you all right? Do I look all right? Well, if it makes things any better, we can talk. What happened? My boyfriend. I have a feeling he's cheating on me, but I can't break up with him. Why not? Because I don't have any proof. But I saw him today with this girl. That's it? You think that's it? What am I supposed to do? There's actually a lot you can do. What do you mean? Come with me. Do you know his username? Tyler Jameson. Here's his BII book. You could check it out. How did he do that? It's no big deal. Child's play. So he has been cheating on me. I knew it. I knew it. All this time, he was just taking advantage of me. Well, now that you know, you don't have to make that mistake anymore. I was such a fool. Don't be so hard on yourself. You'll find someone new. No, he can't just do that to me. I want revenge. Revenge? Sounds satisfying. But how? How will I teach him a lesson? Hold on, I have an idea. You do? I have some embarrassing pics of him. I'll give them to you and you post them on all his accounts. What? Wouldn't that be too mean? And what if he finds out? You don't have to worry about anything. I'll lie to him and tell him I knew his password all along. You are so beautiful. Hold on, I got a message. Oh my goodness. What? You know what, Tyler? Maybe we're taking things too fast. Where are you going? I gotta go. What just happened? As Angela literally ran off, Tyler was confused. But that's when he got the notification himself. How did this happen? Tyler was mortified walking through the halls as the entire college was browsing through his embarrassing pics. He tried logging into his accounts, but whoever had done it had changed his password, and Tyler could only think of one person. Brittany. Did she find out I was cheating? I gotta get to her. Babe, can we talk? Now you wanna talk? Why don't you go talk with your other girlfriends? Babe, it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. It just happened. Yeah, you accidentally slipped and fell into bed with those girls. Babe, I'm sorry. Don't be like that. You got your revenge, didn't you? Now please, forgive me. You actually thought I would take you back? Babe, I love you. It's over, Tyler. Brittany, listen to me. As Tyler whined to Brittany, Johnny somehow built the courage to speak up. She said, "No, man. Leave her alone." But that turned out to be a big mistake. You stay away from my girl. Losing it, Tyler threw a punch at Johnny. Brittany immediately pushed him back as Johnny fell squirming in pain. You stay away from me. I'm not your girl anymore. Come on, Johnny. Let's get out of here. I'm sorry. You had to go through that because of me. It's alright. You're so sweet. I don't know what I was doing with them. I should be with someone like you. Then why don't you? And that was how Brittany and Johnny started dating. It didn't take much for them to bond and get really close to each other. But even if they were together, they weren't together. Brittany was going through a lot after her breakup with Tyler. She was heartbroken. Johnny tried to help her move on, but Brittany was having a hard time trusting anyone. But Johnny was alright with giving her the time and space she needed. Johnny, can you do something for me? What is it? Can you get into this account? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? It's my cousin. He's got into some very wrong kinds of things, if you know what I mean. The family is worried about him, and I just wanted to know. You mean you wanted to invade his privacy? It's not invading if no one else knows about a secret. Please? Pretty please? Alright. Seeing the smile on Brittany's face was enough for Johnny to tweak the rules a little bit. And now and then, he helped Brittany snoop around and spy on people. With a little time, Brittany seemed to move on with her life. And in all this, a big opportunity came her way when she got selected into a national beauty pageant. Wow, your dress is beautiful. You're definitely going to pass this round with that. You really think so? Telling you from experience. I've been doing beauty pageants since I was 5. This is like a dream for me. I wish I had a dress like that. Good luck tomorrow. How did this get torn? She ruined my dress. I was supposed to wear that tomorrow for the qualifying round. And she ruined my dress. I don't know what I'm going to do. This was like all or nothing. Don't worry, you'll look beautiful no matter what you wear. I wish. Three will be selected today who will enter into the final round of the Miss Ultimate Beauty. Now, let's take a look at the voting polls. The contestant with the least votes will be disqualified. Miss Hawaii with 91 votes. Miss Florida with 93 votes. Miss Nevada, 95 votes. Miss California, 88 votes. And finally, Miss New York. Wait a minute, is this correct? Yeah, that's the results. And Miss New York with 2 votes. What? How can that be? I got it. No, I worked so hard for this. Sorry, Miss New York, better luck next time. And the positions to the final round
goes to Hawaii, Nevada, Florida, and California. She only got 2 votes. How did that happen? Wait, you did it, didn't you? I may have made a few adjustments. Johnny, you are the best. I love you. No problem. With Johnny's help, Brittany had made it to the final round. But now, it wasn't going to be based on just her looks. There would be a question-answer session. She'd have to prove herself that she was not just beauty, but also brains to get the votes. Johnny, I don't think I'll pass this. I've never been good at studies. Yes, you are. You're smarter than most girls. Well, I'm not as smart as you. Maybe you can help me out. Like, hack into their system and get me the question paper? Let me see what I can do. Brittany was super anxious about the final round. But luckily, 2 days before the final round, Johnny had the question papers ready in her hands. Just memorize these answers and you're good to go. Oh, thank you so much, Johnny. I don't know what I would do without you. This is the round of the competition, which ultimately determines the fate of these ladies. It is the make it or break it moment. Tonight, the ladies will have to demonstrate their ability to answer thought-provoking final questions. The whole country is watching, ladies. Let's begin with Miss Hawaii. Your question is, in a few sentences, what do you think of America as a country? I am proud to be an American. America is a country of happiness, and I am happy to be an American. This country is one of the most huge countries in the world. From the shores of Hawaii to the sandy beaches of Hawaii. America rocks! Thank you. Very versatile answer. Brittany chuckled as she watched Miss Hawaii embarrass herself. This was going to be a piece of cake for her. Next up, Miss Nevada. Your question is, in today's society, men predominantly have power in comparison to women. What do you think about that? Should women rule the world? I think girls should rule the world because girls can do a man's work. Man works by force, but girls can manipulate. Around the world, most presidents are men, but girls can do a better job manipulating people, so they will be better rulers. Thank you. Next, Miss Florida. Your question is, if you could make a new law, what would that be? I believe we don't need any laws. We Americans are a free nation and a free people and trust each other and are happy because we don't have any laws because we have freedom. Thank you. Brittany couldn't take the smile off her face as her host walked up to her. She confidently stood her place. Miss California, your question is, Recent polls have shown 1/5 of Americans can't locate the US on a world map. Why do you think this is? Hearing the question, Brittany was stuck. It wasn't on the question paper she memorized. Can you repeat that? Sure. Recent polls have shown 1/5 of Americans can't locate the US on a world map. Why do you think this is? With all eyes on her, Brittany had to think quick. I personally believe that us Americans are unable to do so because many people out there in our nation don't have maps. And I believe that our education, such as in Africa or India and everywhere like such, have this problem. And I believe that the US can solve that problem and help these countries because we are a free nation and we don't have laws and our people are happy and can help people read maps better and build up our future. Thank you. Brittany was devastated seeing the smirk on the judges' faces. The crowds laughing beyond their applause. Another from Miss California. Your next question. Do you think your career prospects would be affected if affirmative action were dismantled? Aye. Is everything alright? Going completely blank, Brittany couldn't take it anymore. She ran off the stage in embarrassment. Johnny. You gave me the wrong questions. Why? Why would you do this to me? Johnny really had feelings for Brittany. But for Brittany, things weren't the same. After her breakup with Tyler, when Johnny ended up asking her out, she didn't say no on the spot because she had bigger plans for him. So she said yes, just so she could use Johnny to her advantage. And while she used the excuse of being heartbroken and avoided intimacy with him, she took advantage of his talents to get herself in the competition, to get others disqualified, and to win the final round. Brittany was cunning, but Johnny wasn't stupid. It was when he was hacking into the beauty pageant site for the questions. He needed to log into Brittany's account first. That's when he got hold of her phone, only to discover a little secret of hers. He's not her cousin? They're dating? Who's that nerd you always hang out with? You guys have something going on? No way. Are you crazy? He's my ticket to the beauty pageant. I can't win this on my own, but with him, it'll be a piece of cake. Oh, alright. They were using me. Alright, two can play at that game. So Johnny intentionally gave Brittany all the wrong answers
and satisfyingly watched her humiliate herself on national TV. You ruined everything I worked for. You deserve a national humiliation. Now leave my house. What? You're telling me to get out? At least you're smart enough to get that. You nerd. What do you think of yourself? Just wait and see what I do to you. Sure, if you can get past the paparazzis. Miss California, what happened on stage? Miss California, just one more question. Miss California, one question. No more questions.
Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.